Hi, I'm Sterling, and I'm excited to talk to you about interactive sample transfer workflows with Slack notifications. So, in the context of autonomous laboratories, we get this problem where some tasks are very easy to automate and then others are very hard to automate. And the difference between 99% automation and 100% automation can be very large. And oftentimes, the most difficult part to automate is this idea of sample transfer between distinct modules. And so while you're prototyping out an autonomous workflow, or at least with the goal of going fully autonomous, it may make sense to have a human in the loop workflow. However, we can use workflow orchestration platforms and sort of interactive features within those in order to streamline this process of software passing back to a person and then back to the software. So it goes kind of like this. We're going to have an app, a Slack app, essentially say, please move sample one from this vial capping station to a powder dispensing station. And we'll go through a sort of live demo of what this looks like. Here we have this file called my GitHub sample transfer workflow. We're going to use the pause flow run function from Prefect and Slack, a Slack webhook to help us send the notification, a Prefect flow decorator, which will essentially just tell Prefect that a certain function is our top level workflow. And we'll also use this run input class, which allows us to specify the different parameters that we want to request from the user. And so this will be the GitHub username, any comments, and a Boolean for flagging whether it should be reviewed by somebody. Here we have this move sample function, and notice here that we use the @flow decorator there to tell Prefect it's our workflow, and it's going to take in arguments, the sample name, the starting location, and the final location, and any links associated with that. And our message is going to be, please move this sample from here to there. Next, we're going to get our URL for the interface, the GUI that the user can interact with. And so the instructions for that will be open this URL, click the resume button, and then follow the instructions. Here we have our notify block. So we're going to take that message that we generated above, and we're going to send it to Slack. At the same time, we're going to pause our flow run. And so this is going to wait until we hear back from that interactive interface, and it will essentially block. And so once that's completed, then we'll go through and just log some basic information there. So we're going to run this example with kind of some dummy data. And we'll just set a breakpoint there to make it easy to look at the output after it's run. So notice here it has our created flow run, and it says flow run, Quirky, Jacomar, pausing flow, execution will continue when this flow run is resumed. So next we move to our Slack channel that we set up in advance. And it says, please move sample, and then the sample ID from here. So if we click on that link, you can link to whatever you'd like. Ideally, that would be something from your inventory. and then we can essentially show images, something that will help the user know what specific locations are intended. And so we'll say, okay, the user's gone, they've done that, then they click on this link, which brings up the Prefect Cloud interface. Click Resume. And then it's going to ask you for the GitHub username, any comments if you want to add them, and whether or not to flag this particular step for review by somebody. Click Submit. We get this little pop-up saying flow run resumed. It'll take a moment for that to update. And notice that the state has changed to completed on the top left there. It'll take a moment for the UI to update as well. And so here we have sample transfer initiated by SG Baird, any comments, the flag, just that logging info that we sent over. And then if we take a look at back at our Python code, we have the same information, sample transfer initiated by SG Baird, and then finished and state completed. So we passed that information back to the workflow orchestrator, essentially just our Python code running, and we can continue on with our automated portion of the workflow. Finally, if we go in, we can see that we have that input available. So within this user input variable, we have the user input class with the GitHub username that was entered, any comments, and the value for the flag for review variable. Now we can also create this as what's called a deployment, which means we can specify a particular repository. And so this would be the AC Training Lab GitHub repository. And then the entry point, or in other words, the file and the function that are to be triggered to run. And so if we have our code live on GitHub, and as we push new code, it will dynamically pull from the code stored there, and we can trigger the runs in the same way. And notice under work pool name here, we have my managed pool. And what that allows you to do is instead of running it on your own local infrastructure, you're able to use a Prefect Cloud Managed Server, which basically just means you run it on their online infrastructure, and they have some nice free tier limits on that. And that is it. This is an example of running an interactive workflow, a human in the loop workflow, a demo of sample transfer that can be really useful for autonomous experimentation when you're almost there and you're still trying to get your full systems up and running. And it's nice and convenient. It minimizes the number of clicks that you have to do, kind of expertise that's needed for somebody to be able to carry out these tasks, and really streamlines that. And the really nice thing is that when set up in this way, it becomes very easy once you have automated that particular step to just swap out the function that was doing the manual human in the loop portion with whatever API or automated code that you had for performing it afterwards. Thanks.